They say nothing is impossible. This story is a perfect example of that. This is the underdog who shocked the world. There are so many amazing stories in sports, but there's something special about an underdog story. It gives us hope and inspires us to pursue our dreams, no matter how impossible they may seem. In the world of mixed martial arts, upsets do happen from time to time. Fighters who are not supposed to win do pull off victories over their more fancied opponents. But the upset we're talking about today was on another level. It was one of the biggest, if not the biggest, in the history of combat sports. On November 12, 2022, at the T-Mobile Arena in Las Vegas, Nevada, one of the most anticipated fights in history took place. The main event was a welterweight title bout between the reigning champion Kamaru Usman and his challenger Leon Edwards. Usman was defending his title for the second time. He had won the belt by defeating Tyron Woodley back in March 2019. Since then, he had made 6 successful title defenses, establishing himself as one of the best welterweights of all time. Edwards, on the other hand, was a relatively unknown quantity. He had been competing in the UFC since 2015 and had a decent record of 19 wins and 3 losses. But he had never fought for a title before and was a massive underdog against Usman. In fact, at one point the odds were as high as 14-1. This meant that for every $100 bet on Edwards to win, the bettor would receive $1,400 in return. To put this into context, these were the longest odds ever offered on a UFC title fight and the second longest odds ever offered on any fight in the history of the sport. Usman was widely expected to win the fight. Many people thought that Edwards would be no match for the champion and that the contest would be over quickly. However, what happened next shocked the world. Edwards won the fight by knockout in the 5th round. It was one of the biggest upsets in sports history, and it will go down as one of the greatest moments in UFC history. So how did the underdog pull off such a stunning victory? Well, as we said, Usman was widely expected to win the fight. And when the two fighters met at the pre-fight press conference, Usman was his usual confident self. He said that he was going to dominate Edwards and that the challenger had no chance of winning. Edwards, on the other hand, was much more humble, said that he was the underdog, and that he was happy to be fighting in the main event. But he also said that he believed he could beat Usman. When the fight was announced, there was a lot of hype around it. It was the first time in UFC history that a Nigerian-born fighter had headlined a pay-per-view event. And Usman was eager to make the most of the opportunity. He knew that millions of people were watching back home in Nigeria, and he wanted to make them proud. On fight night, Usman came out with the intention of putting on a show. He was aggressive from the start, and he dominated the early rounds. Edwards was able to hold his own, but he was clearly outclassed. Usman was bigger, stronger, and more experienced, and it looked like it was just a matter of time before he finished the job. But then something unexpected happened. In the 5th round, Edwards managed to knock Usman out. It was one of the biggest upsets in sports history, and will go down as one of the greatest moments in UFC history. So how did the underdog pull off such a stunning victory? Well, it all came down to preparation. As we said, Edwards was the underdog, and nobody gave him a chance. They all said that he was in for a tough night, and that he would be lucky to get through the fight without being knocked out himself. But Edwards had a secret weapon: his coach, Henry Hooft. Hooft had a different game plan for Edwards. He knew that Usman was a strong wrestler, so he worked with Edwards to make sure that he was prepared for that. But he also knew that Usman could be vulnerable to submission holds, so he worked with Edwards to make sure that he was ready for that as well. On fight night, Edwards followed his coach's game plan to perfection. He was able to avoid Usman's wrestling attacks, and he was able to submit the champion when the opportunity arose. It was a masterclass performance from Edwards, and it was one of the greatest upsets in sports history. So why is the story of the underdog who shocked the world so inspiring? Well, it's inspiring because it shows us that anything is possible if we set our minds to it. No matter how big the challenge is, no matter how long the odds are, if we believe in ourselves and we work hard, we can achieve our dreams. That's what Edwards did. He never gave up on his dream of becoming a champion, even when it seemed impossible, when in the end, he achieved his goal. The story of the underdog who shocked the world reminds us that we should never give up on our dreams. No matter how difficult things may seem, if we believe in ourselves and we work hard, we can achieve anything. Now we ask you, what's your favorite underdog story? Let us know in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this video, Don't forget to like it and subscribe to our channel for more amazing content. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time. Leon Edwards is a name that will forever be etched in the annals of combat sports history. His stunning victory over Kamaru Usman in November 2022 was one of the biggest upsets in recent memory. But what makes Edwards' story even more remarkable is the fact that he was not only an underdog in that fight, but throughout his entire career. From the moment he stepped foot inside the octagon, Edwards was seen as the lesser fighter, the one who was there to make the more fancied fighter look good, but he never let that get in his way. He went out in every fight with the mentality of a champion, knowing that while others may not believe in him, he had to believe in himself. It wasn't just about physical prowess or technical skills. It was about mental toughness, resilience, and an unwavering belief in one's own abilities. Edwards personified these qualities, and on that fateful night in Las Vegas, he proved to the world that he belonged. His victory over Usman was not a fluke. It was the culmination of years of hard work, dedication, and sacrifice. It was a testament to his character and his refusal to let anyone write him off. In doing so, he shattered the odds, defied the experts, and etched his name in gold. The world was watching, and what they saw that night was a masterclass in humility, determination, and the pursuit of excellence. As Edwards stood in the octagon with the welterweight championship belt around his waist, he wasn't just a victor, he was an inspiration. For those who dared to dream, Edwards' story is a beacon of hope, a shining example of what can be achieved when one refuses to be limited by external perceptions. It's a reminder that greatness doesn't always come in flashy packages, and that sometimes the quietest storms produce the loudest roars. He showed us that we shouldn't just chase our dreams, we should chase them relentlessly, knowing that the finish line is always just beyond the next hill. Leon Edwards didn't just shock the world that night, he redefined it. He showed us that the impossible is just a stepping stone to the extraordinary. And as we move forward in this crazy journey called life, let's remember the underdog who shocked the world. Let's remember Leon Edwards. What do you think? What's the most valuable lesson we can learn from Leon Edwards' incredible journey? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Also, if you found this video insightful, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to our channel for more such inspiring content. Your support means the world to us. Thanks for watching. Till next time, keep chasing your dreams.